You know, it was one of those radio seminars, and a gentleman came up to me. I knew who he was because I used to watch ESPN. Not so much anymore, but I used to watch ESPN. And I liked him. I liked him because he was a personality, because he had an opinion, and he spoke his mind, and he entertained me greatly. And we had a pretty good discussion. And it's Stephen A. Smith. How are you, sir?
The great one himself. How are you, Mark? How's everything going, my man?
It's really good. I enjoyed that discussion we had. You're just a very decent guy. At least you were with me, But anyway.
Well, I appreciate it. I've been an admirer of yours for a very, very long time. As far as I'm concerned, you have the best radio show in America. I listen every day, and that's what I came up to you at the Talkers Convention. I told you that I was raised in a Democratic household, and you were about to turn me into a conservative after listening to you. You're the best, my man.
Well, you're really kind. I appreciate that. Now, Stephen, one of the things that impresses me about you is you fundamentally understand liberty. Doesn't mean we agree on everything, but right. You fundamentally understand that this is what we have to defend. I don't care who we're defending it from. This is what we have to defend. What do you make of what's going on today with all the government push and all the racism charges and all the rest of it?
Well, I'm disturbed, to be quite honest with you. You can hear me clearly, correct, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm very, very disturbed. I mean, as an African-American growing up in the streets of New York City, I understand what poverty is all about. I understand, what trials and tribulations mean. But at the same time, I'm looking at what we're witnessing from our president, a man that I voted for, a man that I was proud to vote for at the time simply because from a historical perspective, what he represented. And then I'm looking at, what I consider to be a government takeover, and I'm quite alarmed. I don't think it's what he campaigned on. I know that his record was radical. I listen to Sean Hannity a lot, and Sean Hannity made it a point to say that every day. But I certainly didn't expect us to own 80% of AIG. I didn't expect us to own a part of the automobile industry. It's one thing to put up forth a $787 billion stimulus package, but to drop on top of that $410 billion omnibus package, a $3.6 trillion budget, a cap and trade bill, and then to come with universal health care that ultimately lends towards a government takeover of the health care system. I did not have to listen to Mark Levin or Sean Hannity or Rush Limbaugh to recognize that this is something that should make all of us extremely uncomfortable, because as a young black man growing up in the streets of New York City, no matter what you say about so many of the critics that were perceived as leaders within the community, people may have advocated, Mark, government intervention in terms of supervising things and making sure that we all were operating under a fair and equitable system. But I don't recall anybody, and I do mean anybody, that has ever walked into the black community and advocated a government takeover of anything. It's about handling your own business, grabbing yourself by your own bootstraps and lifting yourself up. We may all need assistance, but a takeover is an entirely different situation altogether, and I'm extremely uncomfortable with it, and I'm even more uncomfortable with the fact that race has become a part of the discussion. We all know racism exists to some degree, but to act as if it is as prevalent as it was years and decades ago is completely untrue, and it serves to divide this nation, which I think is a catastrophic thing.
Are you running for president? Because I'll vote for you. I'm not kidding. What you just said was so damn good, and I'm not kidding, because in fact I have shivers gone down up my leg, or whatever the guy said. Chris Matthews.
I tell you something. One of the things, listening to your show, listening to Sean, listening to Rush, I've agreed with Rush at a lot of things in the past. But I remember, I'll tell you a little story, Mark. Just a few days ago, I was in Washington D.C. for an event. And an African-American happened to be driving me. He was a cab driver. And I'm talking to him because he's a big-time supporter of Obama. And I said to him, listen, you're not going to be able to put that tag on me. Oh, you know what? You're being critical of Obama, so therefore you must be against him. No. The fact is, he's the president of the United States of America. He received 69 million plus votes. He received 52% of the popular vote. he has sworn to be a president to all Americans, not just African Americans. I appreciate his sensitivity, or what would appear to be a sensitivity to some degree, but that doesn't mean we don't get to be critical of his policies. And you can't tell me that what you're seeing from his policies right now should make you comfortable. If it makes you comfortable, it's because you must be ignorant to the issues, because if you are paying attention, then you cannot be comfortable with the American way of life that you knew before, watching what's taking place right now. And I ended up surrounded by about 15 or 20 people, and I was basically saying to them, Mark, listen, at the end of the day, it's about, if you walked up to any African American in this country and you said to them, you know what, I'm going to give you universal health care, or I'm going to give you a cap and trade tax, or I'm going to give you X, Y, and Z. If you gave them that option, or the option to have money in their pocket and for them to make their own decision, they would choose the latter. I said, I got news for you. That would make you somebody with a conservative point of view. You better wake up and recognize.
I think I just found a superstar. I'm not kidding you. Now, by the way, do you know I get notes from cab drivers all the time asking me for a copy of Liberty and Tyranny? I mean, people make assumptions, bigoted assumptions about people based on their race or what they're doing in their lives or something like that. You know, I just think if we explain liberty more, if we explain competition more, and you're right, if we spend a lot of money, if we spend it the right way to help people that truly cannot help themselves, I'm all for that. I'm not an anarchist. I'm a conservative. But that said, there's no reason to destroy the entire healthcare system in order to help people. There's just no need for it.
I tell you what, if you don't mind me saying so, I'll tell you what the conservatives and the Republican Party is up against more so than anything else. You don't have a great messenger outside of talk radio.
It's true.
That ultimately is your problem. I like Michael Steele. I certainly don't want to do anything that would impugn his integrity or stain him in any way. But, you know, he has to do a better job of making sure that the message of the conservative party is coming across, because I don't think it's reaching the masses. I think you've got to have people that can go in any community, because the reality is that when you look at conservatives, when you look at Republicans, you know that you're going, you know, there's a vast majority of white Americans that are going to vote in that direction. But when you talk about the Hispanic and in particularly the black community, then it becomes a problem. You've got to have somebody that can walk into these disenfranchised and minority communities and really explain what it is all about. I didn't know who Mark Levin was from a can of paint. But when I listened on the radio show and I listened to him, I said, you know what? When it's 6 o'clock on the East Coast, if I'm in my car, the hell with music and the hell with talk, you know, radio, everything else. I'm turning to Mark Levin because I want to learn something. And even if I disagree, I'm still going to learn something, even in the process of disagreeing, and therefore it's going to make me more intelligent about the arguments that I make for or against whatever somebody like you is saying. Too many people do not do that, and that needs to change, especially when we're witnessing what we're witnessing taking place in our country right now.
Well, you're very, very kind. Look, I only have a few minutes. I have to ask you a question. This is going to upset a lot of people. I'm from Philadelphia. That doesn't mean I don't like the Giants and the Jets and the Cowboys. But anyway, it doesn't mean I don't like them all. But, you know, my team picked Michael Vick. And I'm a McNabb fan, by the way. But I'm not so much a Vick fan because of the dog stuff. I'm torn.
Right.
Help me.
Well, I can help you this way. Number one, this is America, the country that you love so much. And it's the land of second chances. It's not as if he got away with it. He paid his debt to society. He wasn't just in prison, Mark. He was. You think about the big-time prisons, you know, the ones that scare you the most. You think about Attica, you think about Sing Sing, you think about Supermax, and you think about Leavenworth. He was in Leavenworth. He served 18 months there. Ultimately, he was incarcerated for 23 months of his life. He made a mistake. He paid dearly for it. It cost him more than $120 million. You understand? When you take all of those things into consideration, if this country is what we say it is, and the man has paid his debt to society, we need to move forward. He can play some football. He's not going to do it again. He'd be a new fool if he did, and you move on from there.
All right, my man. All right, you'll come back then, right?
Anytime you want, my man. Anytime.
All right. I really enjoy you, and I enjoy meeting you, and I hope to see you again, Stephen.
My pleasure. Take care, Mark.
All right, God bless. That is Stephen A. Smith.